coming up. I can't even remember where, but anyway, I asked if there was any Kanes around there. They sent me up to this place. And I went in, knocked on the door, and this young, well, she was in her 30s, girl, 30s or 40s, I don't know, answered the door, and I said I was looking for a Kane. Oh, just a minute. Well, this old hag came out, and she said she was a Kane. And she looked at me and she said, and you with a nose like that, you could only be a Kane. And so anyway, I go in there and I've told you this, haven't I? Well, talked to her. Well, then she gave me the story then, and I only had a little while, half hour or so to talk to her. She had a son there, and I met the son. We were supposed to come back and spend some more time with them, but we didn't. She said that my grandfather and his brother and their father were in the logging business in Ireland. And a tree fell down on the father and killed him. And that put the logging business out of business. This is what she tells me. So then the mother, she told us, the grandfather, I don't know why she didn't tell the other one, which is supposedly the grandfather, that he had to get the hell out and go find something to do, that, you know, they were going to starve to death. So she had a pig, and she sold the pig and gave him the money to go down and get on the ship to come over here. Well, this is the story she told.
Where was she living? What part of Ireland?
Well, this is down in not the names that you found there, but there's a town.
Waterford?
Down in Waterford. It was the location fit everything, vaguely. And the story could have been true, but it never, you know, then he came to, supposedly got on the boat and came to over here and then sent her back the money that she'd given him when she sold the pig. But that was as far as I ever got with it. And I think that the only thing that I often wondered about was this place where she lived. You went in the front door and you walked down a hall, like from the front of this house to the back, and there was two rooms on this side of the hall with the doors closed. Later on, I found out one was the living room, and I don't know what the other one might have been a bedroom. But in the very back was the kitchen. That's where she was, and I went back there. And but on this wall, in the hall, there was a picture of a guy that looked just like my brother Bill. I mean, and I've often wondered about, you know, I mean, it could have been some connection to the Kane family or something, but I think she was just an expert in picking tourists out of the thing and accidentally coming up with some story that fit the situation.
Well, when did you go to Ireland?
In '72, I think it was.
And why did you decide to go?
Well, my father-in-law decided to take his children over there, my wife and her two sisters, and they wanted me to go along. I didn't want to go, to be honest with you. I was working for the highway department. I hadn't been there too long. But I just didn't have any inclination to go. Well, they had a deal set up where they flew out of Seattle, and it was pre-approved tickets and all that sort of thing. Well, the last minute they convinced me to go. So, but they couldn't get me in the tour with them, so I drove to Calgary. Flew out of Calgary on a Ward Air, I think was the name of the plane. Yeah, it was a brand new 747. I flew over there and got there a day ahead of them. And landed at Shannon. I landed at Heathrow and then went over to the other airport in London and flew to Shannon, and then they landed at Shannon. That's how I got to Ireland. Well, then I spent 2 weeks as the chauffeur you'd have to know the Shannons to understand this, and you better write not put this down. But, Madeline's oldest sister wasn't too bad, she could get going, but her youngest sister brought her 3 daughters and her husband, and it would take them till 3 o'clock in the afternoon to get all prettied up to go tour Ireland. Well, you didn't see much, and, we spent most of our time sitting there waiting for them. And I stayed there 10 days or 2 weeks, and I flew home, and Madeline and her dad stayed there another 2 weeks traveling around. But I didn't get a chance to dig into any of the Kane or the Driscoll family background, because it was mainly a tour down into where the Shannons came from, and they spent a lot of time.
What part of Ireland is that?
They were from Cork. Cork, McSherry, and Castletown, Bearhaven. The Mrs. Shannon's father. This is some more gossip. He supposedly had a wife and a family in Ireland, and he abandoned them and came to Butte and had another wife and a family in Butte. So sometimes you went looking for things in these archives and in these church registers and all this and that, and some old priest would tell you you don't want to look into anything like that, you better just drop that. If you were smart, you took his advice.